are here, aka Peter Freakout 10, baby. Back again to bring you guys our episode of the Movie Review Show with the good movies are always reviewed. Okay, back into our movie review. And we're continuing ScreamFeast. Alright, now on today's episode, today we're going to take a look at a film that deals with a certain type of creature. A creature that has been around for many generations with various actors that have played them and have come in various forms. Those, of course, being vampires. And today we're going to take a look at a movie that shows what if a person controls the urge of blood and constantly fights that appetite. And what film is that, you may be asking? What film could have a story that involves a vampire fighting his urge for blood? Well, that film and those actions are seen in none other than Near Dark. Yeah, I like that cover there, a little, well, I won't say lenticular, but shiny cover kind of representing the sun. And I showed it an update. This is the 2-disc Anchor Bay edition. But anyway, Near Dark, this is a film made back in 1987. It's written and directed by Kathryn Bigelow. Now, Kathryn Bigelow, this is the same woman who directed Point Break, and she also directed Strange Days. And what surprised me when I first heard about this movie is that it's co-produced and written by Eric Red. Now, Eric Red, this is the same guy who wrote the original Hitcher with C. Thomas Howell and Rutger Hauer. And he also directed Body Parts, which is a film that I haven't seen. I've heard good things about it, though. Now, the idea for this movie came about when Kathryn expressed interest in doing a Western with Eric Red writing the script. But because it was at a time when Westerns were starting to be seen as obsolete and losing their touch, they decided to take the concept of a Western and incorporate another genre into the mix. And because the vampire trend was such a big trend going on at the time, they decided to combine the two. So her and Eric Red wrote the script to this movie, and they sold the script to Dino D. Laurentiis Entertainment Group. And they took the script because their studio was in a slump and they were in financial trouble. Well, but they still allowed the movie to get made and gave Kathryn a budget of $5 million. And Edward S. Feldman, who was the executive producer on this movie, was worried that Kathryn wouldn't be able to handle this movie and gave her an ultimatum that if she wasn't comfortable, well, I shouldn't say an ultimatum. She made her a deal that if she wasn't happy doing it the first 5 days, she could leave, and thankfully, she survived. And when they started getting their cast together for the main character, they actually wanted Johnny Depp or D.B.S. Sweeney to play in the role before they settled on another, and I'll say who that is. Michael Biehn was also asked to play the main villain in this movie, but he said no because he didn't like the script, which actually kind of surprises me because I thought Michael Biehn, because I see Michael Biehn being in this movie, even though I love who they got to be in this film. And around the same time, Bill Paxton was actually cast in the movie. And when he looked at the script, he actually called up Lance Henriksen, who were buddies after they finished up Aliens. And when he showed the script to him, Lance was like, "Come on, Bill, you can't be serious." But after taking a deeper look into it, he signed on. And this is also because another reason why they were cast is because Kathryn's future husband, James Cameron, suggested it to her that they get some of the cast from Aliens to be in this movie. And they got the rest of their cast together and actually got to shooting the film on November 17th of 1986. And it was shot mostly in Arizona, with some scenes being shot in California. And for the design of the vampires, they actually had a particular group of people sign on to do it. Somebody said Rick Baker did the effects. I don't know if that's true or not. It really doesn't say on IMDb. It doesn't. I've heard people say that it's Rick Baker, but they brought him in with his crew to bring him to life. And at one point, in full makeup, when Bill Paxton saw this passing train that would make a stop at the intersection every night, Bill went in full makeup and literally went up to one of the workers and was like, "Hey man, there's been an accident. And if you think I'm bad, wait till you see the other guy." Lance would also stay in character when he wasn't acting. At one point during the week when on break, he literally went for a drive with Bill, and they got pulled over by a cop, and they were still in character, and the cop almost gave him a ticket. Yeah. But because the cop was so worried, he almost arrested them, but eventually he was like, let them go. Because I don't think he wanted to be involved. But shooting lasted for a particular amount of time, and promotion was very small because DG, which is what I call the company, Dino De Lanternis group, the hole that they were in, and they could only get a specific amount of theaters to play the movie in. And the movie opened on October 2nd, 1987, and had a very limited release, as I said, on its first weekend, where it opened to number 13, making only $3.4 million, making it a very big box office bomb. Because I could think of two reasons why. The first one was that it opened around the same time as Fatal Attraction, but also 3 months earlier, we had The Lost Boys, which also was a big hit. So I think a lot of people saw this as just another cash grab. Because of that, and the fact that Fatal Attraction was on top of the throne both of those weekends, the movie didn't do as well as it hoped. But despite the movie failing, critical reception was actually very good. On Rotten Tomatoes, on the critical side, it has an 88%. Critics praised the movie for the changes in the vampire genre and the tone, and praised the idea of combining a vampire movie with a western, something that hadn't been done before. Like Michael Wilmington of LA Times, who said, "There's ghastly humor in all this, and Bigelow brings it out without overindulging it. Faced with a nearly repulsive subject, she makes the blood flow inside it stream out over the cuts." Another critic named Mark Dinning of Empire Magazine was another praising the movie, saying, "Catherine Bigelow took on the big boys and won." Despite the movie getting positive reviews, there were those that spoiled the fun, like Karen Jones of New York Times, who stated, "You might call this the scattershot school of filmmaking." And Mark R. Leeper was also negative towards the film, saying, "The seeds of the bullying are long and bloody and boring." What are you, some pissed off teacher, dude? Just because you don't like the violence of the movie doesn't mean it's bad. Why are you calling it bullying? They're going beyond bullying. They're vampires, moron. No offense to the guy, but I just think it's stupid how he puts bullying in there. But to each their own. If he doesn't like the film, that's fine. If you guys want to see the inside. Nice DVD, though. I really like this DVD, and I got a little bit of a story to say about this. But the audience rating was also nice to the movie, because on the audience side is a 70... It's in there? Yeah, it's in there. It has a 74% on the audience side. While it was lower, it was still very positive. IMDb is a 7 out of 10, I should say, not point. But the audience liked it a lot, and this is another one of those movies that actually landed on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments onto number 64. Now, much like a lot of movies I reviewed this Halloween, this is another one of those films that I saw for the first time. Heck, I never even heard of this film until I saw the Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments, and this was on there, and I really wanted to check it out after seeing that. Yeah. And even though I was so interested in checking out, I actually wanted this particular edition because there's another edition of it that came out later, and that from what I hear was a pile of shit because they took off all of these features, and they basically just made it basically bare bones. I don't know why they would take off the good features. This is the best version to get. So I really wanted this version, and let me tell you, I had a hard time finding this DVD because after the new edition came out, this went up in price and it became rare. And it's becoming rare, so I had to find the cheapest one. Thankfully, I found a good copy of it. And sat down and watched it for the first time, and I gotta say, I loved it. I really loved this movie. In fact, I dare say it's my third favorite vampire film. If I made a top 3 favorite vampire films, it would be From Dusk Till Dawn is number 1. Number 2 is Fright Night, and number 3 would be this film. That is my 3 favorite vampire movies. And number 4 would be Bram Stoker's Dracula. Gotta put that on there. I think this film is also a little bit underrated, and I think if they waited a year and put this out in February, I think it would have done better, and it would have been a bigger name in the horror industry. Because there is something to this movie that I feel like a lot of vampire movies don't have. And even though I love those other ones, there's just something here that really differentiates itself from those others. And I really appreciate the film from that. And it's, at first, you would seem like, oh, it's a Western, so it's definitely going to differentiate itself. But I think there's a little bit more to it than just that angle. And I'll explain more on that later. But with the cast of this film, you got Adrian Pasdar. This is a guy who's been in films like Top Gun. He was in Carlito's Way and Made in USA. You got Jenny Wright from Young Guns 2. She was also in The Lawnmower Man and St. Elmo's Fire. Lance Henriksen, the first of the Aliens group, is here from, of course, Aliens. He was also in Pumpkinhead. He was the villain in Hard Target and Tarzan. You also got Bill Paxton, another actor from Alien, the always awesome Bill Paxton from Aliens, Predator 2, The Terminator, Coconut Pete from Club Dread, The Vagrant, among many others. Jeanette Goldstein, the last of the Aliens group from Lethal Weapon 2 also, and Terminator 2, Judgment Day. You got Joshua John Miller from Class of 1999. He was also in Death Ward. He was the nerdy kid that was flirting with Van Damme's girlfriend when they were trying to hack in the computer. And he's like, "Do you like Star Trek?" Something like that. A bunch of other people, I don't know. Actually, one more. Tim Thomerson from, I think, Trancers and Doll Man. He's here too. But yeah, really great film. And I'll get into why I love this film later. But anyway, the basic plot of the film is basically we meet Caleb Colton, played by Adrian Pasdar, who is a country boy in a small town, and one night is out minding his own business when he comes across a beautiful girl named May, played by Jenny Wright, eating an ice cream. And he immediately falls in love with her. He starts flirting with her, showing her the horse that he has, and everything seems to go well until Sunshine hits. And she's like, "I want to go home," but Caleb, still being flirty, tries to get her to kiss him, and she ends up biting him because she's a vampire and she can't control her urges. And so now it's daylight, and he starts making his way back home to his sister and father. But he's starting to feel different because he feels slower. He's all heating up in the back. And as he's racing to get home, this RV with black in the front, because the windows are all blacked out, pulls him in, and it's revealed that the RV not only has May in it, but it also has their leader Jesse, played by Lance Henriksen, Severin, played by Bill Paxton, Diamondback, Jesse's wife, played by Jeanette Goldstein, and their son Homer, played by Joshua Miller, who's really who really looks like a kid, but is a lot more, which I'll explain later. And even though they don't say they're vampires, they're a group of vampires who travel around killing people and get him into the group. And the fact that Colton is now a vampire, he now has to follow their lead and start killing. And they give him an ultimatum that if he doesn't start following their lead and killing people, they'll throw him out of the group. Even though he doesn't want to, because he still has that human and empathetic side of him that isn't completely gone. But at the same time, he's still experiencing the hunger of a vampire. Like, he still craves blood and all that. And it also becomes a lot harder when he starts having a relationship with May, and later on towards the end when he starts to find acceptance in the group after helping them escape a group of cops. He starts to lose respect for them when they decide to target his family. So now Caleb actually has to now decide whether he wants to continue to basically follow in the group's footsteps or go back to living the life of a country boy. Will Caleb make the decision in time before he makes the decision whether he wants to go back to his family or eat his family like ribs? Now, from what I'm telling you, you can already tell Near Dark is a different type of vampire movie. And believe me, it really is. But the changes it makes from the usual vampire movie are really well done and are really smart, because it's not just about a vampire being a vampire with its story. It's a movie that asked a question of, what if a guy became a vampire and constantly struggled to get into gear of being a vampire? Such as he still has the human side of him. He doesn't want to kill people. And I really think that's an interesting idea. I think it really makes you feel empathy for the vampire, and it really follows him as a character. So, in a way, you sort of see him as a character study, this movie. Now, it isn't just a vampire movie. It's also a Western, it's also a road movie, it's a horror movie, and a romance piece. And as I said, I kind of saw some character study elements in there. And I see that because we're exploring this character's struggle of being a vampire, and it at times is really heartbreaking and at times touching, like with the romance between Colton and May, like the scenes of them talking about the sky, and how she understands that even though he has to kill, he doesn't want to kill. I think those scenes are really touching, and they really give the film the soft spot that I think a lot of people would have laughed at. Yeah. Especially the scene when you see her giving him her own blood. I thought she did it. I thought it was handled well. And as I said, I like the fact that it follows the vampires, whereas other movies just deal with the humans as the main character. And the combination of horror and action are handled really well. I mean, it's not overly scary. I mean, probably because I wasn't scared of it, but I feel the scares do come from the atmosphere, like the look of the movie. Kind of the case kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. The look of the movie a bit, and the actions that the characters do on each other. I was wondering what the inside looks like. There you go. A little booklet there. Yeah. For a particular scene, like the scene where, like, one of the kids, the Homer kid, actually makes it look like he tripped on his bike, and this guy comes up to check on him, and he bites the guy. Like, just the scenes of them out and about, just killing people, and even the bar scene, which I'll talk about. Those are the creepiest scenes that I think you'll get out of this film. And I think the combination of action, horror, and all of those that I just mentioned are done really well in this film. And I love the fact that it doesn't end like a typical vampire movie. It ends in a really surprising way. I didn't even see it coming, and I was amazed that it even worked. And it isn't a downer, which is surprising for a vampire movie. So I love those aspects about the story in this film. I love where it goes. I love how they handle the characters. And I just love how it combines the two. And the movie itself is shot really well. I love the look of this film. I love the shots of the desert right there. I love that RV that they have in the movie where it's all black and everything. The black windows, and the look of it, just this desert, this desolate sort of rustic desert. It ties into it perfectly being a Western. The shots of the desert look great. The fact it was shot on location really adds a sense of realness to it. And combined with the night shots, which really get their point across. The lighting is used great in those scenes. It's just a really great looking film. And just how the characters look and whatnot when in the day, and how like at night they'll appear differently. I really love that about the movie. And the action scenes are greatly shot. The horror scenes are shot greatly. They have a great amount of atmosphere. There's not shaky cam. There's wide shots. Just really great looking movie. There's great uses of the camera. Always in a great energy. Sort of like how Catherine Bigelow would do later in Point Break. I think, honestly, this is her best movie, I gotta say. I mean, I'd probably say this movie and then Point Break are her best movies. That's just me. But overall, it's directed really greatly by Catherine Bigelow. And the acting of the film is also well done, starting with our main character, Caleb, played by Adrian Pasdar, who I think does a great job playing this character. At first, you're really not sure what to make of this guy. You're not sure if you're supposed to like him or you're supposed to hate him, because you get the idea at times he could be a little bit of a flirty guy, maybe a perv, but he's really not forcing this girl onto himself onto this girl, or making the girl come onto him. He's really easing his way into her heart. But I think you really start to like him when you see him getting bit, and you see him changing. He's having the hardest time walking home, walking through the sun, and he's literally melting in the back. And now he's having to deal with the fact that he's in a group where he's forced to kill for his hunger. And I like the fact that he's hesitant on killing, because it really gives him a human side to the character. It really makes you connect with him. And they handled it well. I think just how he looks, the angel face mixed with the country boy look really works. So I like his performance. I think he did a good job playing this character. Gives him this really innocent look. And just really a memorable performance. Jenny Wright is also great as May. And granted, it's not just because she's hot, but I just love how, even though she's a vampire, she's willing to stick by this guy who she just met for one night, and she bit, and it's her fault that she is this way, but she's willing, that he's this way, I should say. Sorry, I can't talk. Even though she bit him, and she doesn't deny that she did it, that she did do it. She's like, you know what, I did it, I'll make it up to him. And basically, she's never jerky towards him, and even lets him bite into her. So there's a sense of likability to her, and when he feels weak, she'll pick him up. So I like that about her. And I think the two have some very good chemistry together, and at times can be a little kinky. I'll say that, can be a little kinky. So can't argue with that. But I think the main reason to see this movie is, of course, the villain. Starting off, you got Lance Henriksen, who would go on to play another villain in Hard Target, where he does an equally amazing job. And Here, I like him because I love the moodiness he gives the character, this hard-ass sort of look to him, just the exterior that he gives the character really suits him. And even though I would have liked to see Michael B, the Reverend Michael Bay playing this character, Michael Biehn playing this character, I thought he did a really great job, Lance Henriksen. Really has a way of playing him. I don't know if he's in here. Is he? I think it's in the other one. I'm actually kind of surprised his character's not on here. But he just did a great. Hold on one second. He just did it greatly, and I like him with that mole, especially when he's at the bar and he has that one woman. Like him right there. Yeah, I like him with that hair too. I think it really suits it. Really gives him that hard edge attitude. But yeah, Lance did a really good job playing him. But of course, the main reason to see this movie is not only the bad guys, but one of them in particular, Bill Paxton, who's a blast in this movie. He's to be the main character as much like his character in Club Dread. He really gives him this great amount of energy. It was just so quotable. The dialogue, like the one point when he's in the bar and he instigates a fight with one of the trucker after he spilled his beer and he's mad. He's like, "Why don't you come lick it off the bar?" And then he puts the foam on him. He's like, "Remember Buffalo Bill?" In the bar, and then he goes and attacks the bartender with those shades. "Oh, yoo-hoo! I got a good name for you, Mr. Pig Knuckle." Quotes like that really make Bill the best part. I especially love how he uses like those little wheels on his boots to kill the guy. Bill's so much fun in this movie. Really a fun character. Finger licking good. So yeah. And the other two do a really good job. Like the kid who plays Homer, I thought he did fine. You find out he's actually been alive longer than he really is. Is like how he looks. He's really a splitting image of the family. He's a tough boy. Despite being little, he still has that tough guy side to him. And he did well. He did well for what he had to do. Jeanette Goldstein, I also thought did well for what she had to do. She's definitely in line with Lance Henriksen's character. So they all do great jobs. They all give great performances, and they all have great lines to give in this movie. But of course, you can't finish up a review like this without talking about the special effects. And the special effects for this movie are great. Great. The makeup, the look of the vampires, when they're melting, it looks really cool. I like the fact that that steam comes off them, sort of showing that the skin's coming off, and they're all charcoal. Oh, like with Bill Paxton later on, like he's all fired. He looks like that later. Really good effects, really good makeup, and just how they look when they're melting, like, and they've all exploded and like the fire and whatnot. It just really cool, and also like when they're being shot and there's like this huge hole in them. There's some good blood squibs, very good blood squibs in this movie. So it's definitely a violent movie. If you're looking for that, you'll definitely find that here. So yeah, this movie offers a lot in terms of violence, in terms of characters, in terms of everything, in terms of meshing many tones into one. This is your movie, and it may look like your typical vampire movie, but it really isn't. It takes a chance at what it wants to do, and it succeeds. And I'm happy that it succeeds because it really knows where it wants to go, and despite the Lost Boys out, I think it still works for where it is. So yeah, I really love this movie. Now, granted, I do have one problem with it, and I think you guys may know what I'm talking about. I do wish Bill Paxton had more to do in the final, because right after he gets hit by the truck, he's done. Done. And, yes, as I said, this scene right here is what happens to him, is like what he looks like after. And good makeup, good practical effects, I'll say that. But, I already mentioned that, but I think they could have done a lot more with him fighting in the final. No, because they really built him up as this threat only to be killed very easily. I don't know why they did give more time to him. And it was really just like, come on, give more to Bill Paxton. He deserves more. But that's the only problem I have. Because bottom line, Near Dark is a fantastic vampire film that knows how to distinguish itself from other vampire movies. It really delivers a touch of love story mixed with action, horror, western, and vampires, and a road movie. And it delivers them all perfectly into a perfect blend. So, you want a different kind of vampire movie? I highly recommend Near Dark. This is a fantastic vampire movie. While not my favorite vampire film, I already said what that was, I still think it deserves a spot. Definitely give this a shot if you're looking for a great vampire film, because when it comes down to it, I give Near Dark a 9.8 out of 10, and it deserves it. It therefore gets my seal of approval. Definitely a great film to watch during Halloween. So yeah, definitely check out Near Dark if you're looking for a great adventure. So yeah, that's my review for Near Dark, and next time I'm going to do a review on A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Yeah, I got in this 4-pack. I hate this thing, but I'm happy I have it in this. I'm gonna have to hold it like this, close to you guys. You guys will probably get the point, but I really wish I had the separate cases for this. I hate this thing, but so pumped to talk about this. This is not one of my favorite horror films, but get to that later. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Near Dark. Is this your favorite vampire movie? What is your favorite vampire movie? The comments. Tell me in the comments below. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time in the wonderful world of YouTube. Bye.